It's showtime, and we are live here on episode, 34 already of Horror Metal Cow.
Yeah.
So, welcome,
What's up?
guys. As you can see, we have a special guest tonight. This is my son. This is Ripley London. I was a total dope and forgot that I had nobody watch him tonight. And so that's totally fine because he is going to be the coolest co-host with us. And little disclaimer here. If you have a problem with a baby being here, I don't give a shit. And if you have a problem with my language that I use in front of a 4-month-old, I also don't give a shit because he has no idea what the fuck I'm saying. So anyway, welcome to the show. And this is the baby. And so I hope you enjoy him. He's adorable. And no, I did not match our outfits on purpose.
Ripster, dude, what's up? We got a baby here. I'm a little under the weather this evening. I'm not feeling 100%, but with me, you only need about 3%, and I'm up and running. So we're good here tonight. It's great to see you, Stevie. It's great to see little Ripster, dude, man. What's up, Rip?
For anybody who doesn't know, this is Joe's nephew. So
yeah, that's right. That's right. That's my little baby nephew right there.
And
who I adore. Hey, he's like the apple of my eye.
Yes, we have a pretty cool show for you guys tonight. So tonight we are going to be discussing the season 2 of the Umbrella Academy, which is on Netflix. It was a huge breakout hit last year. I was kind of on the fence about it. To be honest, I still kind of am on the fence about it because I don't know. We'll get into season 2 here in a couple of minutes. So stick around for that. Yes, Bubba, I understand. The other stuff we're going to be talking about tonight is going to be 20 years of Clayman from the band In Flames, which is an awesome band. I am a big fan, have been since high school. And we are also going to discuss an opinion section of tonight's show. What makes a good horror movie?
Yeah. So we got
Joe and I's take on what makes a good horror movie. So I'm going to stick him in his little seat. So why don't you start talking about, I don't know, pick something.
The In Flames. I'll go with the In Flames stuff.
Okay, go ahead.
I'll cue and then I'll wait for you to come back so we can talk about it. Now, In Flames has been around for a long, long time, and they have put out about 6-7 albums. One of my favorite bands, actually, and they have just released a remastered version of a few songs from the Clayman album, which is just awesome. They did, I believe it was 4 or 5 songs. They did Bullet Ride. They did Clayman, No Time for Pity for the, oh my God, the title escapes me right now. I'm thinking I can hear it. Huh?
For the Week, Bullet Ride, Pinball Match, right. Clayman, and a brand new instrumental medley called and Variations in D Minor. I've got it pulled up right here. This is just a little snippet, actually, of the full length. Jesus! And actually, that just started playing and scared the shit out of me. Sorry. So yeah, it's coming out August 28th of this year. Pre-orders began already, so you can go ahead and pre-order that. So it's going to be new songs in addition to the re-recordings, not a remaster, re-recordings.
Right.
Some old songs from the original Clayman, as well as artwork, new booklets, shit like that.
Yeah, it's packed. It's totally packed up with all cool stuff. If you're a fan of In Flames, you're going to love this. The music itself, it's going to throw you a little bit. It's not what you're going to expect.
So what was your take on that? Because so I was driving to work on Friday, and I had my release radar on, which is a little compilation of stuff Spotify think you might like, right? So if a band comes out with something new or an artist comes out with something new, they suggest it to you. So In Flames comes on, And I'm like listening to it. I'm like, I know this is Pinball Map. I was like,
Right.
A, this isn't new. And B, it sounds weird.
Right. Yeah. Different. So much
I'll
different.
be honest with you, I probably haven't listened to Pinball Map in a couple of years. You know what I mean? It's not like, and I just say, oh, you know what? Let me listen to this real quick. So I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Blah, blah, blah. This sounds really good. I even texted you. I was like, dude, go listen right now.
Right.
And it's like, I don't like it. And I was like, what?
Yeah, no, right. I'm kind of taken back by it a little bit. It sounds to me like they're reaching for a more modern approach to what they have, and they're modernizing it more operatically. I mean, In Flames to me was never operatic. They were always, just fast metal. It was Swedish metal, which I adore. I love Nordic and Swedish metal. So, you are ingrained with that album. Clayman is like stuck in my head, forever and ever and ever. So when I hear, I'm hearing the original version. I'm like, I'm getting all, jacked up because I'm hearing against the version that they put out now, which is just, I'm not going to say night and day, but it's definitely a stretch.
So that's the thing. When I first heard it on Friday morning, I was like, holy fuck, this is so good. You know what I mean? Then Justin was like, I don't like it. And I'm like, why?
Yeah.
It's empty. He's like, it's empty. I don't like it. And I was like, So pulled up everything, listened to the new stuff. I did it one song at a time. So I listened to Pinball Map, then I listened to Bullet Ride, so on and so forth. And then listened to 20 seconds, then went back and listened to the original, right? And immediately you can tell a difference. You're like, holy fuck. And it is night and day, honestly. You said you don't want to say night and day, but no, it really is night and day.
It is. It
totally is. And you listen to the original stuff, and I'm just going to use Pinball Map as a reference point, just because that's probably one of the most popular songs on the album.
Right.
And Clayman as well. But
that was my favorite.
So you listen to Pinball Map, for example, and it is just so meaty. That's the best adjective I can use to describe it. It is like a steak.
Thick, right? It was thick and choppy and dirty and gritty.
It is satisfying. It's beautiful. And you used the word operatic. I would say that's not a bad word to use, because it is beautiful and everything does come together on the album of Clayman.
Right.
It is very operatic, only because to me, an opera tells a story, and that whole album told a story to me.
Right.
In 2000, I was a freshman in high school. Things were weird. You go at that age, things are weird and emo and dark. You know what I mean? And Clayman is a very dark album, not just musically, but thematically. And it's a very dark album that deals with elements of depression. And
he wrote that when he wrote that record, he was incredibly depressed. And that was one of the ways out of that depression was writing. And he wrote himself out of depression on that album, which is something, you can feel the angst in his voice on the first record. And this record, you're just like,
you can almost hear pain.
But they're kind of mailing it in, it's kind of synthetic. And
I meant in Clayman original, you could hear pain, and on this one,
yes,
it's soft.
That's what I mean. It's very synthetic. It's just it's not there's no grit to it. And they put the weird breakdown part in the middle of that, where it was a complete stop for everything except the guitar. So it's an eclectic mix. I mean, my biggest question, Stevie, would be, is this the label's representation of what the music should have been, or what they had wanted, or the band's? I mean,
in my opinion, and I read an interview with Anders who is, for if you don't know, it's, well, you know, but for people who don't know, Anders is the lead singer. I'm not going to attempt to pronounce his last name. I'll butcher it. Something fucking Swedish, but
Yeah.
you know, I read an interview with Anders where he said he didn't give a reason why they re-recorded some songs from Clayman, but he did say that it took him back to when they first did it, you know. But I kind of find that hard to believe because I don't feel that the passion is there.
Right.
Both instrumentally and vocally. I don't hear that passion from
when
the album.
When they were first released, when that album Clayman was first released, I mean, they had 2 albums out prior to that, but this album was gaining notoriety.
It was more than that. I think Clayman's number 5, man.
4, maybe 4.
Yeah,
maybe number 4. Right, they had 3. Right, they had 3 before that, and then Clayman. Right, well, you're counting the demo release.
Right.
Right, but that is a release. So, okay, in that context. When it was released, they were gaining notoriety. The first 2 albums did not much for them here in the States. And all of a sudden, here comes Clayman. And they were very hungry for it.
Hey, Adrian.
Hey, Adrian, what's up, brother? What's going on?
We're talking about Clayman right now.
They were very hungry, for stature and attention, you know, as a metal band, and they
this album, I think, really fucking launched them
right over the top. I mean, for a band to come from Sweden at that time to do what they were doing, there wasn't that many. I mean, you had the Biola brothers, you know, with which I'm a huge Haunted fan, and At the Gates, obviously. I love both bands tremendously. And I've always been a fan of Swedish and Nordic metal, so it's not something that.
Oh, hey, Bree.
Bree. Hi, Bree. How you doing? It's not something that I wasn't accustomed to listening to. It's just that album had so much grit on it, and it was disappointing almost to hear the new tracks without that. But
you know what? I'm going to defend it, and this is like my signature phrase. I like to look at things from both perspectives, especially, you know, like all art is subjective. So I'm going to defend this re-recording and say that it is modernized. It is, you said it sounds a little synthetic. Okay. But think about music now. Music is very synthetic now. A lot of the times it can just be one person and a computer and they can record an entire album.
Well, that's what I meant by modernization. Yeah. You're right. Okay.
The vocals are very soft, but I don't find that to be a negative because think about it. You don't sound the same that you did 20 years ago.
No, and you know, that's actually an interesting point because a lot of bands still try to emulate that sound that they had 30 years ago.
He didn't, and I think that's a really good thing that he did because if Anders had tried to sound exactly like he did 20 years ago, I think he might have made a fool of himself.
That's true. Along with that, you know, you have oh God, I feel like I hate to say it, but Joe Biden. That's the only political stuff I'll do ever. Well, I'm just like
we're all a little Joe Biden sometimes. Forget what we're talking about.
I am forever Joe Biden. I'm always.
You're always Joe Biden.
I'm always God.
Friend.
I'm always just like, where?
You're some friend. It's okay. No, trust me.
You want more gasoline in the Cheerios?
Absolutely the worst about remembering anything right now. So
where I was trying to go with this is that if you go back to the album post Clayman, you have Cloud Connected, and if you listen to Cloud Connected, it's almost a hint in the direction that they wanted to go. Now, with that in place, if you take that further down the road, this may be where they had, gravitated to. So, but I mean, to take classics, that are forever, enamored in the walls of metal forever, and you take them and change them, it's blasphemy. It's almost like Halford redoing
Oh, no, don't be
Time Is a Rust.
guy.
It's really, it's
You're
odd.
being a purist.
No, what I'm doing is stating a fact. And the fact is that honestly, I wouldn't mind hearing some changes on certain things, but I mean, the staple stuff should remain. Some of it's got to remain, and it just sounds to me like a completely different song. I mean, you still have a little bit of the the guitar riff in there for Clayman, Pinball Map. They did some weird stuff with the harmonies in there. They went to like thirds instead of fifths. It's just this weird pattern that they had. So I think part of that is just me hearing it the old way, and I was so in love with that record that it's like, no, you don't want them to touch it.
Right.
But I give them points for growth. I really appreciate
it. I do too. Do I think the original is better? By miles, far better by miles. However, I will say I am not a purist in the sense, like I'm always saying this about horror as well. I'm always saying it's okay to remake films. It's okay to reimagine films and shows, as long as there's a point and as long as it keeps it relevant. And I think that this reintroduces some of In Flames' music to a new audience.
Well, that was my point. They were not pandering to a new genre, but they're kind of, hey, check this out. Look, we're bad. Look, it's not. It comes with cookies. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that portion of it.
Okay,
but I am absolutely. I have always been one for growth. Even in my bands, I've wanted to take some songs and rewrite them and, rework retool the first album for DTA. And I mean, we have three records out. Nobody would know that, but we are well, Adrian knows that because he bought two. Thank you, Adrian. And yes, I agree. In Flames' older stuff is way better than, but anyway, not to.
He also says that he thinks it's very risky to re-record old albums. And I can see that. But I also do think it maybe not so much necessary, but I do think it's kind of something that a lot of bands that have been around a very long time do. In Flames is 30 years in the business now. And so think about other bands who have done re-recordings, not like a remaster, but like a re-recording or a re-release of something.
Right.
A lot of times, okay. Now, in the case of this is with the same label, so has nothing to do with the label. But sometimes you might be switching labels, and then you get your rights back. So you want to change something that the label maybe forced you to do as an artist.
That's true too. I mean, there's a lot of that running rampant, and I do agree with you.
We wanted to maybe bring into is what are some of the reasons bands re-record stuff?
Well, a lot of the reasons are there's always somebody that didn't get a part in it they wanted to, or a riff. I mean, I know firsthand, looking back at records, and I had a fill that I wanted. Damn it, that fill should have been in. This is like 30 years later, and I'm still like, damn. You want your shit to get off. You want to get your shit off on your records. You want those parts in that you wrote. And that's a forever battle as a musician in a band. I mean, for the most part, there's unity, and you come together on a mutual ground, and you slice and dice, and it becomes a song. With the case of Clayman, it seems like the only reference point was the body of the riff, and everything else is kind of different. So it's kind of hard to adjust right away. Maybe I'm thinking possibly down the line. It could be a little bit easier to digest, more palatable as I listen to it more and more often. I'm hoping it doesn't have the reverse effect. I hate it because I don't want to hate it. I mean, it's In Flames. I want to love it because I love everything else that they've done. So I really want to enjoy their works. This is just, I mean, this came out of left field. This is totally different from anything they've done. So,
oh, I agree. Real quick, I'm going to pop this comment up from Bree.
right,
And I'm going to put him, because he's sleeping, so I'm going to put him in his pack and play, and I'll be right back.
right. I'm going to read. Bree says, okay, I know, don't know shit about music. I'm not a fan. If remakes of anything, usually movies and music. In terms of music, though, I could see the logic more so than the movie remakes. Well, yeah, a song is much easier to make, Brie, than a movie. I mean, and the same love of craft goes into each. If the people making the music or the movie love with their craft, you can it shows in the record or the movie. Um, you take that record against something of lesser quality, and you can hear the difference immediately. So yeah, no, I think that's right.
I can say that it's probably, in terms of difficulty, they're going to be very opposite ends of the spectrum. But
Right.
at the same time, and I'm going to defend movie remakes because I'm not a nostalgic person, and anybody who knows me knows that I don't get nostalgia. But I really, retelling a story in your own way and making it your own. And two really great examples of that is Zombies Halloween
Right.
and Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead. Okay, two really good examples of taking a classic and retelling it in your own way, making it your own. A
Right.
lot of people are very divided on Rob Zombie's Halloween. I was a big fan of it. A lot of people agree that 2004's Zack Snyder Dawn of the Dead is a better film than Romero's Dawn of the Dead because of how political Romero made it. And George Romero, rest in peace, was a very political man. He was a very political, but there's nothing wrong with that if you can make it into art, basically.
Right.
But the bottom line is that Dawn of the Dead felt more like a horror movie than Romero's Dawn of the Dead.
There was an
Felt
Italian movie. Right. There was an Italian movie that was made a long time ago. It was called Cemetery Man. I don't know if you ever saw that. It's an old Italian horror movie. That I would like to see the remake of because it's more modern now, and it was based in a cemetery. You could actually see the wire on the bats as they were coming down. It was totally cheese B-rated stuff, but that was the enamoring quality of the movie. It was just like it was fun to watch because they didn't give a shit. So nobody else did, and it was just a cool movie. Like the whole thesis was cool. A guy buries people, and this woman is responsible for the death of like 3 people, and he's burying them in their cemetery. And then she falls in love with her, and she's trying to kill him. And his digger. Like, I'm not going to give it away. Yeah, if you watch the movie,
I've never seen it. Don't tell me everything about it. I'm not going to want to watch it now.
I just want to add also that Bree, yes, you are an amazing star now. Her comment went across the screen, like when it scrolled across, and she is now a star here on the show. You are a star.
You're a shining star. I will say that just to kind of tie things up on this subject, although it's different, it's maybe cringy to some In Flames fans. I appreciate that they have revisited some of their more powerful tracks from Clayman. I also I think that even though it doesn't sound as meaty and it maybe is a bit more empty or soft,
airy.
I think that's okay. And I think that, to me, in my notes here, I said, maybe not as meaty, maybe a little softer, but still just as gripping and captivating. And that's just my opinion on it.
I would agree with that. I think it is. It's more open and airy. And again, I reference. My God, I can't think tonight. Cloud Connected with the keyboard intro.
Mm-hmm.
That was a full keyboard intro. So the keyboards were becoming more and more prevalent in their songs. And if you, like I said, if you compass that, and wind forward.
Oh, now. Absolutely. Because I even put here, Jester Race and Reroute to Remain are two of my favorite albums by them. I lean more toward that.
Right.
Completely different sound. Completely
Totally. And maybe,
doesn't make it any less good, doesn't make it any better, just a completely different sound.
Oh, Remain is a great record. There's a song at the end of that record. I can't remember the title. It's faster than hell. There's just a great variety of songs on that record. It's a different record. Like I said, it's not the same. There's a lot of mixture between songs, different mixtures. They're not just everything isn't just fast on the record. There's a lot of tempo changes, a lot of cool tempo changes. And, it's just a great record. And then when they do step out and thrash it up and go fast, it's fast. It's thrashed really fast. I've always loved that record. And I've always, like I said, I always will be an In Flames fan, And in time, this may grow on.
They're good. Adrian says that he prefers analog over digital. I think that a lot of people do. It's just we're living in a digital world, and I am very much an advocate of embracing change,
right?
And keeping up with staying relevant and things like that. So I don't find it all bad. There's some analog shit, man, that can never be. You can never ever measure up to it, but at the same time, artists have to move forward, and I think that's what these guys are doing. They're being the In Flames of 2020 because they know that they can't be the In Flames of 2000 anymore.
That's correct, and like I said, they moved forward in that, in that way, and they're just moving on now to maybe to try different things, and you can't fault the band for that. But Adrian, I love analog too. It's so warm and thick, it's just great stuff, man. It's awesome.
Sean would for this convo too. But I don't know what he's doing. Jagger, none of your business, says Joe, you have some echo going on. Yeah, that's, I think, my fault because I can't have headphones on tonight because I've got the baby with me. So
Thank you, Jagger. Let me maybe I could turn my mic down a little bit. How's that? Can you still hear me okay?
I got the volume down here. But anyway, yeah, so we that's about all we've got to say about unless you've got more, that's about all we've got to say about Clayman 20 years. The album, the Clayman 20th anniversary album comes out August 28th. So guys, support these guys and pick that up. New artwork, new songs, stuff like that. And so our next topic of conversation tonight, guys, is going to be an opinion piece. Remember, stick around because we've got Umbrella Academy season 2, or as like Joe likes to confuse it and call it Umbrella Corporation.
Umbrella Corporation.
I say no, wrong universe, Joe.
No, Alice. Where's Alice? Alice. Oh, yeah. No Alice in that. Sucks, man.
What makes a good horror movie?
Oh my God, that's such a loaded question. It is. That's a loaded question. Well, obviously, you got to have great music. I love a movie with great tunes in it, like nasty, horror flick-ish music, really mean, nasty, all the off chords. I love suspense. I'm not into slash and gore. That's not my thing. I mean, you could do like Edgar Allan Poe was much more, he got much more done, in my opinion, with suspense than a lot of these slash and gore flicks do now. With taking someone's head off, like Saw, you know, Saw as opposed to the Raven. I mean, it's just you can get so much more done with the build. The build, the suspenseful build, and then the release. I love those kind of movies. You got to have a great monster, a believable monster.
Yeah, I think that right there. Okay, so we both had suspense. I have a list here of things. I brainstormed this morning over some coffee. So we both have suspense on our list. You said good monster. I've got fear of death is necessary.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So
yeah.
regardless of what causes that fear of death, whether it be a slasher or a monster of some sort, like zombie, vampire, kaiju, whatever it is, there's got to be something that causes that fear of death.
Right. Like demonic movies, obviously. You know where I'm going to go, right? You're going to
the unknown. Oh God, what is it? What was it that you were going to bring up?
It'll come to you. Hang on, it'll come to you.
I couldn't think. What is it that he's going to bring up?
Conjuring.
Conjuring. It only took 31 minutes and 7 seconds tonight.
I'm getting better. I'm getting better.
Brought up the Conjuring, which yes, that's a new record for you, young sir.
I'm going to CA now, which is Conjuring Anonymous, which I need to go there because I have an affliction with The Conjuring, which is a great movie, almost as good as watching Sasquatch.
That's a 31.
Now, if they made a horror flick with Sasquatch, that would be something.
There's like a million horror flicks with Sasquatch. What the hell are you talking about?
There's a couple. The Legend of they had the Legend of Boggy Creek from like '73, and you have a bunch of shows, looking for Sasquatch, squatching. We got that guy Bobo.
Back here squatching.
Right. I mean, I would squatch anytime, but I got like the woods behind the house, but I mean, I might get a squirrel, you know what I mean? Not the same thing, but I mean, a good Sasquatch movie where you piss them off and rips the cabin apart,
Yeah.
I think that would be great.
What? Okay. So what's your next necessity in a good horror movie?
Hot chicks. Gotta have hot chicks. I mean,
What about hot dudes? We gotta have hot dudes too.
Well, that depends, on what side of the fence you're on.
They
I don't know, I gotta go with the chicks, you know what I mean? I don't know. That's not my style, could be yours. I don't know. I don't bash anybody's style, but that is not for me, okay? I don't do that. I don't need that kind of stuff. I swing on the other side, but I got a hot chick in the house here, so she can figure me around. You know what I mean? I married a hot chick, so I'm pretty good. I'm doing all right. But you gotta have good music. You gotta have a great monster. You definitely have to have good characters that are able to handle.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. So I was gonna say, in the vein of hot chicks and hot dudes and all that shit, characters.
Yeah,
have really character building. You can't just have the geek, the hot dude, the blah, 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 the blah blah blah, unless you do it well. For example, Cabin in the Woods.
I was just gonna say that. Oh my God!
They took those specific characters: the hot chick, the virgin, the fool, the jock, the nerd, and they integrated it into the story. And they had the monsters and they had the lore, and it was a fucking great movie. That's a great example of a good movie.
I don't know what happened, but suddenly I was from Brooklyn when I said that. That's beautiful. I can't believe that you like that movie so much.
Hand of God.
The hand of God. Look, it's the hand of God. Oh my God. Now, I mean, like you said, a remake of that would be.
Hey, look, it's Joe Compton. He says, "Hey, Joe and Stevie, I made it to a live show finally. Hey, man, welcome back. You've kind of been MIA, but thanks for tuning in, man."
Go Indies in the house. What's up, Joe?
Sir.
Great to see you, man.
That's our pal Joe Compton. He's got his a podcast as well, Go Indie Now. So make sure you check that one out too.
Joe is an awesome dude.
So we've got, on top of character building, my next thing on the list is conflict. I think that conflict is absolutely necessary because it creates the tension that fosters the continued interest. And then with conflict, you've got suspense. So, and then Adrian even said, gore and slasher he loves, but the ones that really get him are the suspenseful psychological. And I think that when you're thinking of conflict and tension and suspense, those three things all, create a very beautiful polyamorous marriage there, because you can't have one without having the other, having the other. You know what I mean? Hand in hand. And so when you have those three, that leads me into my next thing. So you can have good horror movies that are slow burns, and you can have good horror movies that are action-packed. And this topic came to me, what makes a good horror movie, when I was watching the film World War Z for like the 9,000th time, because I don't know why. I just could literally see the movie every single day. I never get sick of it. I think the reason being is because it is so action-packed.
Right, I love action.
Like basically within the first 5 minutes of the film, you've got the setup, the character building, the conflict, and boom, you're out the gate like a race, and it rarely slows down. So it is a very action-packed film. It portrays the end of the world, like everything falling apart, the chaos and everything, very well. Except now that we're in the throes of a pandemic, I do believe reality is stranger than fiction, because there are so many stupid people. We're not going to get into that. I just had to, dig my knife a little bit. But, I really think that, and a lot of people don't like World War Z, but let me tell you something. I wish it was called something else. And I think that's why people don't like it, is because they're like, it had nothing to do with the book. No, you're right. It has nothing to do with the book except the title. And I think that in itself, it should have never been called that. And I think that a lot of people don't give the film the credit that it deserves as a really stand-up post-apocalyptic zombie flick. Because the acting is great, the cinematography is great. It had a fucking ridiculous budget. It was probably one of the highest grossing zombie films. And it's just an overall great story. Very, very rarely do you get a conclusion like you do in that film. And that leads me to my next thing on my list, a solid conclusion, unless you're setting up for a sequel.
Right. No, I like a solid conclusion, a finality, and the monster's got a sword in its throat, it's dead. It's dead, it's dead, it's dead. We killed it, but then it crawled away, and where'd it go? We don't know. That leaves door number 2 open. No, but I love action in a movie, and I love finality, final, but it's got to be epic. I like epic movies. Like, it's got to be an epic. Some people like realistic movies. I love epic. I love the guy that falls out of the sky and lives. You know what I mean? That's me. That's just who I am.
Basically, any Tom Cruise Mission Impossible movie.
Yeah. Hey,
totally unrealistic action sequences.
Look at that! It's the hand of God.
Oh, you probably like him because he's short, huh?
Well, I'm kind of short. I'm only.
I had to get the little booger because he was. The native was getting restless over there. Say hi.
Good evening, Ripley, London. How are you this evening, young chap?
But this kid, I'm raising him right. He's going to be a horror buff. But thinking about all of these things and what makes a really good horror movie. I brought up Cabin in the Woods. I brought up World War Z. And then Joe right here. He said, "Oh no, honey." He's trying to steal my microphone. You got something to say? What you got to say? Say it. What do you got to say? Yeah, that's basically all he's going to say.
You mean him? I'm sorry.
So Joe Compton asks, what do you feel about trick endings like The Sixth Sense and the others?
Yeah.
Let me tell you something about trick endings. I don't think they're gimmicky. A lot of people say, oh, it's a gimmick, blah, 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 blah. I think they're great. I like a good twist.
Well, that was right. That was with oh my God, I can't think of it.
Which one? The others?
I see dead people. I can't
Oh
think
yeah,
of
that's
it.
the Sixth Sense.
Right.
That's, I mean, and that's the thing that I feel bad for M. Night Shyamalan because he led with that. Like, you lead with that, man. That should be like your seventh film because it's hard to top
bad.
that.
And there was another one with Nicole.
From that point on, compared all his shit to The Sixth Sense, and I feel so.
Well, there was another movie with Nicole Kidman. I can't remember the title of that either. That was a bait and switch kind of movie, like
with
you
Nicole
wouldn't expect.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were actually the ghosts in the movie,
with
and
the
whole
kids,
time,
yeah.
right? You thought that, they were normal and
haunted. No.
Right, that was actually a very decent movie.
Yeah.
I thought that was a good movie. So, I mean, like that, Joe. I love them. I love movies like that. I love bait and switch. Ripley, the dude. What's up, dude? It's Ripley, man.
But I do think that sometimes both filmmakers and authors can use the twist as a gimmick. Me personally, I love twists. If you've read my short stories, almost every single one of them has a big twist at the end. I really enjoy short twists in my short stories. So my other thing, and I bring up Shyamalan because he enjoys a good twist, but like I said, he led with like the best one. And I love his work. I really do. I wrote a piece on it. It's on my website as well as Horror Metal Sounds. I wrote a piece about quarantine recommendations. It was myself, PJ, and Robin. We all wrote, like recommendations during pandemic quarantine. And I wrote a piece on his series, his horror series, Servant. It's on Apple TV Plus, and how that actually helped me deal with the early stages of my postpartum depression, which I am very much open to talk about. There's nothing to be ashamed about it. PPD is a very real thing.
Not at all. Absolutely.
It is very difficult to deal with, and and I'm getting help for it and dealing with it in my own way. But that piece of fiction right there really was so cathartic and what played a big part in helping me cope and get through it. And so I've always been a Shyamalan fan. And I think he really turned me on to the whole twist thing in stories. So, and every time I write a short story where I've got a twist, I'm like, would he like this? Like as if he's my friend or something. But I always say, oh, you think this is a cool twist? Because
what would Shyamalan do, right?
As a writer, I admire him greatly as a writer. I think he's wonderful. And basically, that's just my piece on that. But I think that I'm gonna throw that on my list there. Not always, but it helps to have a great narrative that pulls the old bait and switch on you at the end.
Right.
That also makes a great horror movie. And yes, Sean, you did miss the In Flames conversation, but lucky for you, you can always go back and watch it when the show's done on YouTube.
Right. And Joe actually mentioned it was The Others. The name of that movie was The Others.
It's based on a Korean horror film, The Tale of
the Two Sisters. Right. Yeah. Yes. That's awesome. Great movie. Thanks, Joe.
Questions from the chat. You got something to say, huh? Any other questions from the chat on this subject? Let us know.
Right.
Yeah. That's
right, dude.
For Ripley.
Straight up, brother.
Now, you said you're not into slashers and all that. I would say with that piece, that gore, depending on what context, I think it is very important to have an ample amount of gore in a film.
My buddy Dane's here. I'm sorry. Dane!
Dane.
Continue. All right, continue.
No, I do think that it is very important to have, as long as it's in the right context. Yes. Oh, I know. To have a good amount of gore. That is very important. And I'm
Well, yeah, in a horror movie, I mean, that's why it's a horror movie. You know, it's there to make you kind of queasy and, not very happy about things. So it's designed to, make you feel, elicit feelings. And some people are like me, are very touchy, for lack of a better term. Like, I'll feel it. Like, when I see it happening, I'm like, oh, I I have the empathy.
yeah,
Very
a lot of
empathetic.
people are like that. They get the feeling in their knees or the
Yeah.
whole hinge thing.
You know, a guy just gets lynched on TV, and I'm walking to the kitchen like this. I got the milk, hun. My neck. I feel it.
Thing, though, like there's certain directors and writers that, like, when you know their name is attached to something, you know what to expect. So, like I just said, Shyamalan, you're going to expect a twist. Okay. I can never expect, like, let me tell you something. If I go to see an Eli Roth movie, I better fucking have some gore. I better have some nastiness, like in the vein of The Green Inferno or fucking Hostel. I better have some nasty gore that's going to make me disgusted, because I want to see an Eli Roth film. I don't see Eli Roth to see Knock Knock with fucking, and I love Keanu Reeves, but that shit was lame, boring as shit. That to me was not an Eli Roth film. That was Eli Roth saying, I want to put my girlfriend in something. That was just like super lame to me. He threw his binky, so now I gotta be annoying. I'm being that person tonight, guys. But guess what? Sorry, not sorry. I don't have a baby. But
what's up, dude?
So like, like if I'm gonna go watch a Saw movie, I don't want to see anything but people
losing limbs, blowing up, and sawing their own arms off and shit. Right, you want to see that because that's what it's called for.
Exactly. Joe Compton asks, was a good kill mentioned as a criteria? No, we haven't gotten to death scenes yet, but that was right on my list, actually, after gore, where I say, not too much, not too little, and of course it depends on the context. So next on my list was death scenes. That is super important, because how somebody dies, like how a character dies in relation to, well, if you want to get deep on it, but in thought-provoking horror, a lot of the times it is very relevant how a character bites the dust. Is it fitting to the plot? Does it move the narrative forward? Or is it just a hack and slash where it's really inventive and creative or nostalgic, like Jason or Freddy or something,
I like movies where you assume that the character is the lead character and early on in the film, and they get killed like almost immediately. That sets up a nice movie for me, usually.
And a perfect example of that is, if you guys haven't seen it, The Hunt, you think about 6 different people are main characters.
Right. Well, yeah, right, exactly.
In like the first 20 minutes, and it's fucking awesome. If you haven't watched The Hunt yet, definitely check it out. It's a fucking amazing, well done political satire horror film. It's fucking hilarious. It's hilarious.
Yeah. That's freaky weird.
My next thing on the list is, or actually the final thing on the list is for me, and then if you have anything more, but does the film, and this kind of goes back to thought-provoking horror because I'm a big fan of that, does it spark debate or conversation? That is very important to me, because if a film is forgettable, what was the point?
Right, you got to have good narrative in it.
Absolutely.
I mean, you definitely need.
Did it make you feel angry or in any way? Did it make you upset? Did it make you grossed out? Did it make you excited?
Exactly.
Did it make you go, oh fuck, that's fucking awesome? A good example of a really fucking bad movie that is actually a good movie only because it's so fucking anger and rage inducing is A Cure for Wellness. And actually, Bree and I went and saw that in the theater, and we were so mad. We were so pissed off about this movie. Like, we like sat outside the theater for like a good 30, 45 minutes just fucking complaining about it. And looking back on it, like, it just popped into my head when I was talking about it. I'm like, oh my God, it's actually a good horror movie because it made people that mad to where they could debate it and discuss the lore of the film in such a manner, if that makes sense.
Right. That does. It totally
I
does.
still don't like it. I still think it's a fucking trash fire, but it kind of meets the criteria of a good horror movie.
Right. Well, right. Exactly. No, I mean, you have a great basis for a movie, which is the vehicle, and the gas is the characters. So they got to be believable, and you have to have a basis. You know, they have to have some depth to them. You can't have characters that, like, I don't like movies that are very apparent with their characters, like Stephen King. We mentioned this. We talked about this once before. He is very long-winded in his approach with the character. In the narrative in a movie, you really don't have that much time. So you got to kind of circumvent that just a hair. Now, a good horror movie is a writer that can get that narrative in there, while he's so very subtle on getting it in there without making it look like it was slammed in there just for the sake of slamming it in there and making it apparent, that the character is this way or that way. A good subtle build on a character like that is excellent. I like that.
So Joe says the Blair Witch. So no, I mean, and actually the Blair Witch is kind of still relevant. It was just recently
and it's a re-release
last year.
Maybe the Creeps.
Yeah, and people were talking about it again, and then they're talking about now making a Blair Witch show. So Blair Witch is a really good example of sparking conversation because there was so much lore behind that film that people really thought it was real. Like, remember all the... Jesus, my dog just scared the shit out of me. I forgot.
Squatch in the house.
Yeah. I'm going to be murdered. Someone is opening this door, and it's the fucking dog. And that just scared the shit out of me. He just was nosy seeing what we're doing in here. But, oh, wow. Ooh, that scared me. But, you think about like the Jersey Devil. People really think that that's real. The Blair, when that came out, it was before you could just go on Google or say like, hey, Google, is blah, blah, blah over where blah, blah, blah. You can just ask fucking questions. It was before all of the technology that we have now. Oh, yes. Thank you. I forgot she was in here. So she actually agrees with me. She said, you make a good point. But back then, I mean, I didn't see Blair Witch until I was a little bit older. So it had already been out a couple of years. But, back then people thought it was real. You know what I mean? And
totally. Everybody did. I mean, I remember when it came out. I saw it for the first time, and I was freaking out. I'm like, holy shit, that's real.
Think about that, like, paved the way for found footage. Found footage was not really a thing back then.
No.
Look at the franchise and you love it or hate it. Paranormal Activity is a hugely successful franchise.
Yeah. Well,
whether you like it or not, we have all seen either a or all of the Paranormal Activity movies. And absolutely, Joe, I agree with you. It created the genre of found footage. Without which we wouldn't have Paranormal Activity. We wouldn't have all these other films that are found footage. And I think that's very, very relevant. And it's very important. And yes, that absolutely meets all the criteria of a good horror movie.
I agree.
We are coming up on time, so we're going to move to our final topic.
Quick, yeah.
I mean, honestly, I could really go on and on and on about this. I didn't realize that we would talk so much about this topic. Just because,
that's all right.
Of how passionate I am about horror and horror movies and all that stuff. But all right.
Sorry, I'm reading a.
Oh no, I like zoned out for a second. I was like, what the fuck are you doing? season 2 of the Umbrella Academy came out. Are you full? Are you sleeping? He's sleeping. That's cool. Go sleep, boo-boo. Season 2 of the Umbrella Academy came out on Friday.
Right.
And I was lazy and didn't start watching it until yesterday. But I am just started episode 3. Joe basically watched the whole damn thing. What are your thoughts thus far, young Joseph, on Umbrella Academy?
I sat through 6 episodes of pretty much the same scenario as last year. It's gonna be a twist. It's gotta be, because if there's no way that they would leave it like that. There's no way. The sister 7 was the one last year that turned into like a nuke and got angry. Yeah, right. Vanya got upset and blew a piece of the moon out and tracked it back to Earth, and it was like, doomsday. Was the end of the Earth. It hit the Earth, and it was, that was the end of everything. This year, President Kennedy needs to be shot, but they're trying to stop it. So they're going through a great deal of things. I don't want to give it all away, but the father's implicated in it, and I'm going to leave it right there.
Oh, yeah, don't say anything else, because I don't want to spoil it for anybody watching, and I also don't spoil it for myself. I only like spoilers if I'm like super, super invested in a show,
right?
Like major story anxiety, and I'm like, I need to fucking know.
It's the same cast as last year. We can say that about it.
I can kind of see how it's a copy and paste formula. I'm only, like I said, I've just started episode 3, but I can definitely tell that they are using the same formula as the first season. However, I will say this: the first episode of season 2 starts out with a bang. Immediately, it captivates you. It starts out with that action that I feel season 1 lacked a lot of.
Right.
For the sake of setting up the story. Now, and I understand it was a pilot season. So the first season of a lot of shows is going to be heavy on the explanation. But with that being said, season 2 starts out with a bang that season 1 did not have until the end.
And the formula that they borrowed from last year is spun in different ways. They're biting off of it and using it to spin and twist items in, and it's working. It's really working. I'm about 6 episodes in, and I'm loving it already. I'm probably gonna go lay down and watch the rest of it tonight. So I'm binge watching. I watched 7 episodes in a row yesterday. I'm paying for it today. I'm very tired, but we're gonna finish up probably the series tonight. Now the next piece, not to jump too far ahead, that I would like to see is the Hill House second season, which is going to be, to me, I loved. I admired the first season so much. I loved it. Really loved it.
That unfortunately has been delayed because of COVID-19. And I will say, something more with Umbrella Academy that I thought was really cute was how they promoted season 2. Remember, a big part of season 1 was Tiffany's I Think We're Alone Now. The cover of, I believe it's Tommy James
and the Shondells, correct?
Yes. I can never remember the what he calls his band. I just know his name is Tommy James. But what a badass song for that decade. Can I just say that the bass in that song is I just love it. But anyway, I do like it better than the Tiffany version. That's just my opinion. But so that was a heavy piece of season 1. And when they promoted season 2, it was super cute because obviously the cast can't get together to do any kind of marketing or promotion or red carpet or anything at all. Right. It was really cute. They kind of all did like a Zoom get together online where they all danced and did like their own little thing, just like their characters would for the show to the song. Because that was a big part of one of the episodes in season 1 was each character had their own piece with the song and everything like that. And I thought it was very cute how they promoted season 2, being that, yes, even famous actors are under quarantine because we're living in the pandemic world. And
Right.
it is very hard to promote your work right now if you're in that line of work. You know, I mean, we even had an episode where we talked about how musicians are really suffering. You know, we also have to think about actors and actresses, and those people are also really feeling the effects of this.
Yeah. I have a show coming up the 25th, and I'm not sure if we're going to play it. We're taking it by ear right now. But, you know, the band is prepping. We're in the studio. We all wear masks while we play. I'm not to stray off topic, but yeah, it's a little odd. It's crazy. But we have reached the hour. So it's time to say goodnight. But you know what? As far as that goes, we're going to take all the episodes in together once you finished it or caught up. You know, we get in a place where we can talk about it more deeply when we're leaving, or you know, we've watched the whole series. We'll make another attempt at, you know.
Oh yeah, for sure. We'll definitely talk more about Umbrella Academy season 2 probably on next week's show. Just a heads up for everyone. Next week we will not be live on Monday. We are going to be live on Wednesday, and the reason being is, even though this little guy is so cool and basically slept this whole time, and he's just
Good
so
boy.
cool,
Such
and
a
he's
good
a
boy.
great co-host. I would like it if he had to be in here where I was having a hot ass baby. This baby is like 9,000 degrees, and he's
Can somebody
very
please
funny.
take the sun? I've got the sun on me. It's hot. Can somebody
I'm
please
holding the sun in my arms.
glowing globe? It's hot.
So yeah, next week and probably going forward, our show is gonna be moving to Wednesday nights, same time slot, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central. And that's because he can have some one-on-one time with old daddy. But yeah, so thank you guys for tuning in. I'm going to pop up our social medias on here. As always, you want to subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you don't miss awesome fucking shows like tonight's episode. You'll get notifications, all that good shit. Follow Joe on Instagram, Joey_Moore67, and then of course just Joe Moore on Facebook.
That's right. You better
I
follow me. You
am
bastard.
basically the same on everything. Apaco Taco on Twitter, the Apaco Taco on Instagram, and then just find me. You can just find me on Facebook. Of course, horrormetalsounds.com or HM Sounds on Twitter and Instagram for all of these guys, because that's your one-stop shop for horror and metal. We are going to have new horror reviews. My review team, we got some new members. We're going to have some brand new horror reviews out for you later this week. And that's all, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in. Share with your friends. Fucking click like. Fucking subscribe. And yeah, we'll see you next week. Bye, guys.
Love you.
Love ya. Love.